we're in Birmingham, Alabama. My mom calls and says, "Hey, everything's going to be okay, but I have cancer." And I remember just freezing. And at the time, I had high blood pressure, high cholesterol. I was already having my stress and anxiety manifest in my arms, and I would get numbness and tingling. And I'm battling back and forth, trying not to convince myself that I have ALS. And I'm literally always just paralyzed with panic and this anxiety on a level that it's hard to describe.
Hello, world. I'm Andy Petronic, co-founder of the Whole Life Challenge, and welcome to episode 156 of the Breaking Ordinary podcast. This is a show about raising the bar, improving your life, and transforming your health, fitness, and well-being, shattering the status quo. My guests are people who have found their inner strength and confidence to lead from the front, to stand out, to be different, and to truly make a difference in the world of health, fitness, and well-being. Their stories will astound, inspire, and inform, and will help you generate ideas that spring you into action. Well, as I enjoy my cup of coffee on Monday morning, I've just got to say how grateful I am that you guys are listeners and that you're tuning in and that you're checking out the show. I do my best to bring really cool guests and really fun conversations to the show that are not just fun for the sake of fun. They're fun for the sake of relevance to health, fitness, and well-being. And today's guest does not disappoint at all. His name is Thad Beaty. I laugh. He's the guitarist for a band named Sugarland. And he's also an unlikely Ironman coach. I'm not going to spoil it, tell you too much in advance. Actually, I'm going to get back to it in a second. I'll introduce Thad. I want to talk about a couple other things first. The first of which is, this is Breaking Ordinary. Yes! It's a new name. And so I'm so excited about it. It just jazzes me to no end that I've finally got a name that I am inspired by, absolutely love, and it really describes what we do. You know, the conversations we have. Every one of my guests is doing something to break the mold, to upset the status quo, and they're all in the realm of health, fitness, and well-being. So, I'm calling it 156. Episode 156 is really episode number 2 of the Breaking Ordinary podcast, but it is the 156th podcast that I have produced via the Whole Life Challenge. So there you have it. As I mentioned to you guys last week, I'm starting to do corporate speaking engagements to speak about strategies for wellness in life and workplace, using the Whole Life Challenge as a vehicle for that. If you're interested in having me come to your business or company, just send me an email at podcast@wholelifechallenge.com. Whew! Got that out. I want to let you guys know about my monthly newsletter, Stepping Up. You can find out all about that. It's pithy, short, bullet points, cool things you can incorporate in your life if you want to. Things that I find. I'm really just sharing things that I find interesting. And I send it out once a month only. I'm not spamming anyone. And you can find out more about that at andypetronic.com. I also have a really pretty solid batch, if I don't say so myself, of bodyweight workouts. The list of them are on my website at andypetronic.com/workouts. They're also, I publish them via the Whole Life Challenge. So I have a lot of people in the challenge that are doing them to satisfy their body weight requirements. It's not a programmed set of workouts. I only publish once a week, and you can go in and literally pick any one of the 41 and have a great workout. It's body weight. It doesn't require any equipment. Some of them don't even require you to change clothes, depending on the work clothes you wear. And they don't require really any space. In fact, a few of them I recorded right here in my office, which is tiny. And just to show you that it doesn't require hardly any space. Like the size of a yoga mat. It's pretty much it most of the time. What else? I'm headed off right now, just to give you a little bit of raw and relevance in my life, it's been a very long time since I've done any sort of sequestered, off the grid training for my own personal improvement, development, transformation, etc. And this week, I am headed off to something called Warrior Week. It's got a... I was a Marine, so anything that uses the words warrior, I look at and go, really? Is it really warrior? This really is. I've been practicing and prepping for this for the last 2 months, and it's really, the warrior part is really about the inner journey that I am on, not as much about the outer, although there is an outer journey too. It's a program for men that I'm involved with, and I actually am getting an incredible amount of value from. So I am off for a full week of off-the-grid training that I'm a little bit nervous about. So that's what's happening in my life. In the interest of full disclosure, I may share something about it. I'm not sure how much I can share, because if any of you out there decide you too are interested in doing Warrior, I don't want to spoil it for you. So any of you men, anyway, they're working on a program for women, but right now it's just for men. Anyway, let's talk about Thad Beaty, the guest today. I've never really had a conversation with a rock star. He's a freaking rock star. I mean, this guy, he's not the lead person. I'm not a Sugarland follower or big fan. I was referred to Thad because of his unlikeliness as an Ironman coach, and who also happens to be a rock star. But he spent 9 years with Sugarland. He shared the stage with Lady Gaga, Bon Jovi, Kenny Chesney, Rhianna, Beyoncé. Are you kidding me? Albums that sell upwards of 10 million copies. This guy is selling out stadiums. So some of the conversation we have is really fun about what it's like to be on stage in a stadium as a rock star doing this. Some things I had never, ever thought about would come up in the conversation, which is really fun. But he had a few traumatic events that occurred in his life, including his mom being diagnosed with colon cancer, some people dying. We talk a little bit about what happened, and then what caused this transformation, because he transformed. He lost 70 pounds and decided he was going to do Ironman. And, that's a funny journey too, because Ironman, the organization, he was pitching them to become like a spokesperson, and they were like, yeah, right. This guy, ha. And, it was pretty cool, pretty fun story. And he is now, check this out. He goes on tour and he pulls up at a new tour stop, and instead of, I don't really know what other rock stars do because I've never really talked to other rock stars, but it certainly doesn't normally involve, in my mind, taking out their road bike and going for a road bike ride, in the middle of Kentucky or in the middle of West Virginia or in the middle of California, for goodness sake. Or going for a run and, not having a place to shower. They got the tour bus. They do sometimes, but not all the time. It's just crazy. He's also now a coach. He's helped people through the experience of doing endurance events for themselves, like people that are overweight and who, need that kind of coaching. And he's been on ABC's Extreme Makeover Weight Loss Edition. He's been featured in People Magazine, Triathlete, Competitor, CNN, Ironman.com, Transform Your Health, AOL. This guy's a rock star and a rock star, if you know what I mean. So I'm not going to belabor this any longer. Let's get him in here, shall we? 3, 2, 1, go. Here we go. Thad Beaty. Enjoy. Thad, welcome to the Andy Petronic podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored. I think it's going to be a fun little time here.
Well, it's already been fun. I just learned something about the music business that I found out that when I attend a show, or any of you out there that attend a show, we are the monkeys, not
That's
the guys
right.
on stage. They're looking at us, and they have these personal communicators that give them the ability to heckle amongst one another, all the people in the audience.
Yes. So when you go to a show and you think you're just watching the band, we're watching you too and talking about it. So
I love that.
We can see the prelude to the girl fights as it starts to kind of bubble up, and you can tell that the two girls that have had a little too much are about to get fussy, or the guys that are being a little machismo, or the once a month the marriage proposal, or the frat guy that refused to sit down in front of the old lady the other night, and some guy had to step in. So these are things that we want to see because they make the shows unique for us. So it's each of our personal responsibilities to have our eyes open and say, all right, section 114, about 3 rows back, check out the guy wearing the such and such and the such and such. And then it goes from there. So we recently had a guy.
Yeah, be warned. Yeah. Go ahead.
We had a guy who I feel as though has spent the last 5 years practicing his dance moves to every song. And he had a front row seat directly in front of Jennifer, and he had the entire show choreographed. And
wow.
I could not look for the entire almost 2-hour show at anything other than him. It
wow.
was, he had some, I'm talking for real moves. Some good stuff out there.
Do you guys bring people up on stage ever? Do you would he be a guy you brought up, or do you just not do that?
It all depends. Every show is different. And if the things are right, maybe someone gets up there. But, I think we learned a long time ago that the potential for that to go extremely downhill, it's a high risk scenario. Not for us, but yeah, folks at shows who've had a couple of cocktails or maybe a $12 beer, it can get interesting.
Or 6.
Yes. Yeah, it's crazy.
Have you ever had an incident occur like that comes to mind?
Not with anyone on stage, but there's definitely been times where we went through this rash of shows back in the day, where every time we played one specific song, during the guitar solo of that song, it's kind of like the emotional apex of the show, a fight would erupt. And this is like show after show after show where this is happening. And so eventually one night, Jennifer just stops the whole show. And she is brilliant. Her mind works so quickly. She stops the whole show. Everyone separates. And here are 2 guys who've been fighting. And so she's able to draw attention to them. Let them immediately feel as though they're some of the most ridiculous people on earth. The seas part, these 2 dudes are standing there. They realize we're a bunch of boneheads. Security comes in and gets them. Everybody applauds as they leave. And Jennifer immediately counts us back in and the show goes on.
Wow.
And so there's little things like that happen throughout the years. And or just like, and I think it's going on this week, the Sturgis motorcycle rally. So basically South Dakota, all these motorcycle dudes drive in from all over the country. It's hundreds of thousands of cyclists, and not road cyclists like us, but
Harley drivers. Yeah.
And they come in and they ride their motorcycles into the show. And so there's just motorcycles parked everywhere, and you're playing, I don't know, 50, 75,000 people in a field. And between songs,
with Harleys in the field with them.
Oh, wow. Yeah, they're using their motorcycles as their seat. Between songs, they crank their bikes and rev the engines as their applause. And so just imagine thousands of Harleys going, Rum!
Wow.
It was us and ZZ Top one time.
Wow.
Playing Sturgis with ZZ Top, and it's about as good as it gets.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah.
From a rocking standpoint.
Really? I can imagine the roar of the engines would be almost as loud as the concert, or more louder. Like
the first time they did it, you don't expect it, and you're not anticipating it. It hits you, and you feel as though you're in the middle of a hurricane, or a tornado, and then you go, "Oh, that's these guys' way of saying thanks, which is pretty
right.
cool.
That is pretty cool.
And now you embrace it and you look forward to it, and then just the power of it, and it's reciprocal. And there's something magic about certain shows that do that and the energy they have. So that show produces that energy, and which gives us more energy to give to them, which gives them more energy, and it just escalates into this partnership. It's a beautiful partnership, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Or like Red Rocks in Colorado. I don't know if you've been to a show there, but you have this stage that just is in the middle of this naturally occurring amphitheater with these golden rocks rising from the sides, and the people are there, and just the way that the moon and the stars set over the stage. And as you're on stage, you're thinking, this is one of the most beautiful and wonderful experiences you can have as a performer. Probably the most stunning setting. The crowd is there, and they know that that's happening. And so just this reciprocal magic between the two people, the fans and the artist, is just stunning. There's nothing in the world like it. And I'm getting chills right now just because that's, at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's this essence connection. You know, when where the music is the invitation or the vehicle for people to connect on a deep level, and this moment, everybody's vulnerable and everybody's celebrating and everybody's kind of together in this moment. It's not us just pushing things forward. In the world of social media, everybody's either giving or taking instead of dancing together.
Right,
so,
right.
Super cool to find these venues where you're dancing together.
It's like my aunt was just telling me. My aunt has been a musician her entire life. She's a concert pianist and a teacher, and it was funny because I put a post up about how the world comes together around this time of World Cup, and how soccer brings the world together. And of course, she got this email that I sent out about it, and she had to then take me to school and say, well, Andrew, don't forget that music is also a unifier, and there's no winners in music, and it brings it. I'm like, yes, I know. Thank you. I had to exercise great patience.
Interesting. And I'd love to have a chat with her, just because I've learned a ton. So Fender, which is the guitar company that we use, just put out a limited edition guitar called the Parallel Universe, and where they take a couple of their different guitars and they smush them all together. And I thought, you know what, that is pretty much what I do. And I've been blessed to be able to work with some elite high level performers in the music space, some of the top artists in the world. And then on the other side of it, I've been blessed to work with some elite performers in the sports space, and to see how their minds work and to see the things that are going on. It's not about the thing that itself. It's not about music or sports. It's not about athletics or playing an instrument. It's the tool or the vehicle that becomes to generate the flow state or a performance, or
absolutely,
just this thing where everybody's supporting, and you just get to it's this communal, just powerful thing that people understand. People understand performance on that level, and they don't necessarily all know how to get there. And it's cool to kind of pay attention to see, the similarities between a high level performer in music and a high level performer in sports, and how you go. It's the same thing. Yep. It's the same mindset. It's the same practices and the same skills and the same insecurities and self doubts, and how they go through it. I've been super blessed just to kind of watch both sides and go, wait a minute, it's the same thing from a brain standpoint. It's just one person has using their legs to run, one person's using their fingers to play piano.
Yeah, and I think one of the cool things is a spectator. I've been on both sides of both. Actually, I was a trumpet player for 20 years. I went to the Eastman School of Music, so I've been on the music side. I've been on the athlete side, and but as a spectator or as an audience participant, when the artist hits that flow state, that's when everybody in the audience gets chills, and they watch some spectacular performance that's completely out of 3 shoulders above what has ever been done before, or whatever. Yeah. It's really amazing how connected we all are when those moments occur.
I made a decision at the beginning of this tour to just simply open my eyes wider. And one of the things I was going to do is I was going to learn to use a camera to do it. And because I don't know how to use a camera, I don't know how to shoot video, I don't know anything like that. So I thought, well, this will force me to slow down. And the conclusions that I've come to is through that, you see the power of the human story, and you see the vast importance of community, and how community coming together and wrapping around something and binding together for a cause and good is just mind-blowing and stunning. And I've learned more probably in the past 2 months than I have in the other 43 years of my life. Regardless, I'm a redneck from Mississippi, so it takes a little bit longer for me to be able to process information and things like that. My wife and I are both musicians, and if the world depended on us solving a long division problem before the apocalypse, then we're all going down. So.
But you could entertain the zombies when they get here.
Yeah.
Fend them off with the music.
That's right. We would do that.
I love it. Well,
I know that you have we're wanting to stay on script. You told me not to drag you down any of my wormholes. So.
I told you, I said, look, I'm for sure going to get the first question in. And you know what? It's been 10 minutes and I still haven't done the first question.
It's my fault.
I
take full responsibility. It's my fault. It's my fault. Okay. I'm going to shut up and listen now. Here we go.
No, this is great. This is so great, because I was just thinking about, okay, well, how do I wrangle this and bring it back into why you're here, and to be on point. And I'm working on, I've just so everybody else out in the audience knows, I've been working on putting together the podcast into a framework that fits into 9 questions. And I think we've already kind of covered a little bit of question 1, but I'm just going to go in and start and kind of see where it puts us. When I first learned about your story around your health and well-being, I was inspired. I was inspired by what occurred in your life, and then the responsibility you took for shifting the things that you needed to shift in order to, I don't even know what in order to, you just changed a lot of things in your life. And I wanted you just to talk about that.
Yeah, well, I think it came down to I'll give with the understanding that we got 8 more questions to go after this.
Yeah, well, we're going to do our best. If we don't get to 8, no big deal.
So I've been lucky to travel the world with a ton of awesome artists, elite, high-level people that I've been blessed to learn so much from, some wonderful people. And it's also a stressful life. And I did the typical thing that many rock and rollers do is, you take care of your emotions and idle time by all kinds of things that aren't necessarily healthy, booze, food, whatever the case may be. Where they feed us 4 times a day. We have a chef. It's every meal is an all-you-can-eat buffet. And I received a call one day. We were in Birmingham, Alabama. My mom calls and says, "Hey, everything's going to be okay, but I have cancer." And I remember just freezing. And at the time, I had high blood pressure, high cholesterol. I was already having my stress and anxiety manifest in my arms, and I would get numbness and tingling. And I'm battling back and forth, trying not to convince myself that I have ALS. And I'm literally always just paralyzed with panic and this anxiety on a level that it's hard to describe. About 2 weeks after that, we were in Scranton, Pennsylvania. My guitar tech was having weird stomach troubles. Goes into the doctors and his home docs and everything and said, "Oh, you've probably got diverticulitis or something like that." He goes in. They say, "Let's do a little blood work." And this is like he's supposed to be at sound check, but instead he's at the ER just getting this stuff checked out. And they come back and say, "You've got stage 4 lymphoma. You're not going home." And so this is right after my mom's diagnosis. A matter of weeks go by, and we're performing a show at the Indianapolis State Fair, and a wind shear comes through. The stage superstructure collapses. 7 people lose their life at a show we're performing. And this is
I remember that. Yeah.
It's seconds before we're going on stage. And at this point, all these things, it took that for me to have a wake-up call. And I realized that I just needed to take the steps to reclaim my health. And it's something that I could control and something I could do. And it was our guitar tech who was diagnosed survived between 3 and 4 months. The Grammy Association has a wing called Music Cares. Yep. And they subsidize things like medical treatments for people, recovery stuff for people struggling with addictions and things like that. So they took care of his chemotherapy. He didn't have insurance. And so I just thought, hey, I'll do one of these fundraiser things to pay them back. They took care of him. At least we'll make it neutral. I'll raise some money. And
yep.
So I thought, okay, I'll just call IRONMAN and I'll say, I'm going to be that dude. I'm overweight. I'll be the dude that goes and is your partial celebrity person.
How did you pick IRONMAN? I mean, you could have picked something a little bit easier, like some 10K or something.
I don't know. I think I'd seen it as a kid, just like everybody else. And you think, oh, I'm okay, cool. I'll do this.
Yeah.
And they laughed, and I was persistent, and I kept calling and finally got through to the right people. And we played a show in Tampa, Florida, which is where their home base is. And at this point, I'd lost 75 pounds from my initial call to them. I'd carried my bike on the road. We talked about the Sturgis motorcycle rally. I'm wearing spandex going riding my pedal bicycle out on the roads with all the guys riding by me. And
God.
This is a terrible idea. I'm going and hiding in the back lounge of the bus to do
Totally.
So finally, I had convinced the Ironman people to take a meeting with me. And their office is on this cove, so they can go swim. And they said, how about this? You come in, we'll chat for a few minutes. We'll go for a swim, and then we'll go for lunch.
Did they ever take you seriously up to this point? Like, were they just entertaining the idea that, we'll see this guy,
I
whatever?
They probably get a ton of requests for people, with this craziness. But I was persistent, and so I go. We have our meeting. I tell them what's going on. I'm drastically different, and they're like, "You don't look anything like the guy from the pictures on the internet." Because, like I said, I'm 75 pounds down.
Yep.
I'm in reasonable shape at the time, and swimming came naturally to me, so I was a great swimmer. So we go out and do the swim that they were. Basically, I found out they're doing an audition or gonna, try to, see if I can handle it.
Yeah, right. Totally.
And, go and I do my part and swim like a fish, and from there they said, "Hey, why don't you come to Phoenix, Arizona? Be our featured athlete there. We'll see how that goes." So I went and did Ironman Arizona, and what was key about that is Quigley, our guitar tech that passed away, his family was from Arizona. And that was the first thing that I did. And so I got to do that race with his family there supporting me. And I'm on the run course, and somebody shows up and says, "Hey, I'm Quigley's cousin, and I just wanted to say thank you for taking care of him and doing this in his honor." And you go and it's mile 18 and someone else shows up and says, "Hey, I'm Quigley's uncle so-and-so." And just along the way, these people showed up, and for the first time in my life, I realized that motivation is not what we need in life. Motivation is not a driver. You can be motivated, but it doesn't last a long time. What we need is a why. And a why that's bigger than yourself. Something that when you wake up in the morning, you can't say no to. And motivation is one of those things that you can wake up in the morning and say, I can do it later. But when the why is bigger than you, you don't have a choice. Or you don't even want to have a choice. You want to dive in. And so my why was to honor this friend and give the money back to charity so that they could help somebody else. And that pushes you. It keeps you going. After that, Ironman said, "Hey, we want you to be the spokesperson for this campaign we have called Kona Inspires, and go to Hawaii and do that." I had 7 athletes who had various, someone with MS, someone who had stage 4 lymphoma, someone who had stage 4 melanoma, multiple stroke victim, all these people. And they said, "You guys are a team. You're going to go do it." And it was partially my job to take care of them, which led to me thinking, I got to figure this stuff out from a coach perspective.
Yep.
And I ended up just thinking, I want to be able to help these people because they all have a why. And the last thing that I want them to do is not be able to reach their goal because of the simple physical piece. The race is nothing more than a journey. Their why is what's important. Yep. We need to figure out the logistics of getting them trained to get there. And so I went and got certified in just about everything that I could. And here we are some years later, and I'm not only a guitar player, but a nutritionist and a multi-sport coach and a a movement specialist and have done all these things. And I work with Team USA's triathlon program. I'm going to Australia to be the head coach for the world championships over there. And
wow.
So it's just this marriage between taking what I've learned as a musician and the heartbeat and the storytelling of that, and then realizing, I guess at the end of the day, I'm a storyteller and I need the people to finish just like I need to know the chords to write a song, I need to know the technical skills of getting someone trained so that we can help them tell the song that is the story of their life. And so I guess I'm just some kind of bizarre, I use different medium now to tell stories in addition to song.
Well, I think you encapsulated really anything I've ever coached, because I've been doing this 25 years, but not on the music side, just on the coaching side. And finding the why is absolutely the heart of keeping yourself going, getting yourself up out of bed. You're exactly right. Motivation only lasts so far. The moment you don't feel like it, if you don't have a why, you're done.
Yeah.
You're done. Because then the feelings just stop you. The feelings get in the way, and then I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah. I saw some stats that the average person tries to lose weight 4 times a year. The average American. And 91% of those, I'll be an optimist, 9% of those are successful.
Right.
So you flip it, 91% of those people are unsuccessful at losing weight 4 times a year. All of them are motivated to start. And so if that's 4 times a year, that's once a quarter. That's 12 weeks. Let's say the motivation lasts 8 weeks. So we have scientific evidence that says motivation only lasts about 8 weeks max.
Right.
And if we're trying to do something long term, then motivation is not the primary fuel. It can't be. You've got to have something that's more powerful than motivation. And that's defining what your why is.
Do you ever find yourself wondering what you're going to eat for lunch? Wondering where you're going to go for dinner? A really great way to not have to wonder where you're going to go or what you're going to get is to have the food already in the fridge. And if you're not a chef and you haven't prepared your meals on Sunday for the entire week, a really great way to do that is to get your food delivered from a service like The Good Kitchen. I've been doing it now for a long time. They send you once every couple weeks a FedEx package with Whole Life Challenge compliant. They will make it based on ketogenic options, vegetarian options, Paleolithic options, and you stick them in your fridge and you've got them. You've got the answer solved to whatever thought is in your mind around, I don't know what to eat, or I don't know what to eat that's healthy in my house. It's there. Whether, like I said, for me, it's lunches, but I've also used them. I used them over the weekend, actually, for dinners. So if you want to check them out, I highly recommend it. There's a special offer for podcast listeners. Get 15% off your first order. Use this link, thegoodkitchen.com/WLC. You will not regret it. I promise.
We've all heard the Simon Sinek stuff and the Golden Circle, which is, it starts with why, and most of us say it start with what? Well, okay, I want to do an Ironman. How? Okay, I'll guess I'll run around and swim a little bit. Why? I don't know. And
right.
the first day where you go, so you're telling me I gotta get my ass out of bed at 4:00 so I can go ride in a gazillion degrees, go to work, and then come home and I gotta run tonight? No. Motivation doesn't help with that.
Right.
It doesn't cover.
Right. Well, if you take me back to when you made this change, the stage has just collapsed. What were some of the things you did? Because I just think back to the way your life was, and how much effort it takes to actually make a change like that. Like, I know you had a powerful why that was going to lead to you not quitting, but what were some of those things that you had to change? Did you go to the doctor right away? Did you find a trainer? What did you do? Yeah,
well, I did go to the doctor, and that was, my wife's a musician. She travels. She's the real rock star in the family and has traveled and done amazing things and still is. And
is she playing a band, or is she a solo artist? Or
She was the bass player in Sugarland at the time. She's gone on to play with a ton of other people. She's out with an artist named Maren Morris right now. They're out on tour with Niall Horan from One Direction and doing crazy stuff.
Cool.
But I did go to the doctor. I found a doctor that was a concierge guy who the first thing that he did was carried me into his office and sat down and we talked for an hour, which is the strangest thing that has ever happened. And so I go in, I start bawling with a doctor. Doctors usually spend 12 minutes with you and and say, here's some pills, see you later. And so I heard myself talk a little bit, and he didn't talk. He just asked a couple of questions and I heard myself. And I guess the other piece of it is I think when you have that resolution that is connected to a why, for whatever reason, my brain said, well, all you got to do is just show up. And I had the piece of the music that said, okay, if I practice this song or this piece of material slower than it's supposed to be for a little bit of time, I'll get it. And then I can speed it up. And so the skills from practicing the music piece of it just made sense of that's how you build. And I started realizing quickly that most of us are just paralyzed by a large goal. When we were working in the studio with artists and doing artist development, they go and say, okay, let's talk about your goals. You're an artist. What are your goals? Well, my goal is to be on Saturday Night Live and to be on the cover of Rolling Stone. And you think, hey, dude, those aren't goals. Those are cool dreams and aspirations. But a goal is tomorrow I'm gonna write a song that I like. Simple as that. And so as a musician, it was I need to get better at this one little piece of this song so that I can do my part in the band. And my brain just said, don't get paralyzed by saying I need to lose almost 100 pounds and I need to be able to do Ironman distance. My brain was just like, all I got to do is tomorrow's thing. And that's as simple as just getting up and going. And I think for whatever reason, we started this campaign now called the Human Renovation Project. And the whole thought is we started paying attention to why the heck are there 558 million home improvement shows on television? And you come to the realization that people actually get a tangible and real call to action from those, because you can watch some lady who's never worked a table saw in her life get a table saw, cut a piece of the baseboard, and it cost her $45 at Home Depot, and she did it. And you think, I can do that. Or, hey, they moved a couch to the middle of the room, and they got some of that blue tape, and then they put it around the edges, and they slapped some paint on the wall, and it cost them $40 in an afternoon. And we all see that, and our brains say, I could probably do that. And it's not scary. It's one manageable, tiny little piece. And so we watch these shows, and there is some level of call to action. We watch them, and we think, I can do a tiny thing. But with our health and our fitness and that journey, you're just stuck on, I got a long way to go. I can't get there. And we're paralyzed. We can't take the first step. And so for us, we're just on this quest to say, hey, it's one room at a time. Today, all you got to do is push the couch to the middle of the room. And then tomorrow we'll buy the blue tape and paint the wall. How
did you create those first steps for yourself? Like what were some of those? And did you find it online? Did you just decide you were going to go for a walk every day? What did you do?
Yeah, it was the thing that we could do while we're on the road is, you're in a venue, we always say we're coming to a city near a city that you've heard of.
Right.
All the music venues are not in a city. They put them in the burbs, or they put them out in the outskirts, and they just build an amphitheater, and you're playing in Cincinnati, but it's really some city you've never heard of.
Right.
And the thing that we could do every day was I could get off the bus and I could just run, and it was just chunks. It's like, can't do anything else. I can leave the gates. I've got my pass. They'll let me back in. I'm just going to run. And so we, my wife would do some with me, other guys in the band. And I just was like, I just got to do a little something today. And that snowballed from there, and you're able to
did
add
people
to that.
rally? Did people rally around you doing it, or was there resistance? Were you doing it in the face of like people thinking you were nuts, or like what was the community like and the involvement?
You know what? It was about as supportive an environment as I could ever hope for. And everybody's doing their thing, and that's everybody's out on the road, and you're vulnerable. You cram everybody. At the time, we had 60 plus people on our crew, and everybody's just frenetically going around doing the things that they need to do. This guy's making sure the lights work. This guy's making sure the audio works, and all these just constantly moving pieces. And so you're kind of paying attention to what people are doing, but you're kind of doing your job. You touch base at dinner and go, "How's it going?" And you go from there. And so for me, it was, I just need to do something. And people were, and they started to see, "Oh, you ran an hour today? Oh, you ran an hour and 30 minutes? You're crazy. And you're going to play a show?"
Right.
You got up and there's a Saturday morning, you went and ran a 10K at the in the neighborhood 10K that's in town, or and then they want to go, or they want to do something. And then the caterers, our chef gets involved, and it's like, "Okay, we're going to set up a smoothie station, and here's a Vitamix now. And so now you've got a smoothie and a juicer out here."
Yep.
And then the truck drivers say, "What am I supposed to do with this juicer thing?" And then you have a conversation with the truck driver, and it's all this stuff is contagious, and you bump into somebody and you sneeze on them and you have the flu, and then a month later everybody in China has the flu too. And what we forget is kindness, small acts, encouragement. All these things are just as contagious, and if we can get somebody else just to do it, then it becomes this teeter-totter, this reciprocal thing, exactly like we were talking about with music. The crowd gets amped up, so you get amped up, and then you ratchet together up to this new level that you never thought you would achieve. But I think if you stay in the mundane, and then you never have a chance. And I don't know, for whatever reason, I've just felt like for the past few years, my partner in crime that helps me do all this stuff, we say that our mission is pretty simple. It's just we're on a campaign to make people that think they're normal realize that they're capable of doing epic shit if they just say a little yes every day. And it's just a collection of those things that turn into something magnificent. And I think most of us think, "What did you do today?" "Well, I got up, I went to work, I came home. I got up, I went to work, I came home. I got up, I went to work, I came home." And we're here to live life. We're not here to go to work, come home, go to bed, and go again. And so I don't know. I think now we're just wanting to make people realize, man, you've got it. Your story is just as epic as Benjamin Franklin or Moses or any of these stories that we've heard. And I always say that if I were to write your story and bury it in a cave, and someone were to go hiking and find it 5 years from now and read about the things that I write, I'm going to write the cool things on your life and a couple of the other things. And so they're going to think, "Oh my gosh, you were a superhero."
Right.
So nobody throughout history, you don't know, when you're reading the great stories of old, you don't hear about when Moses was parking cars at the Hilton. That's
right. That's that part of the story.
When Benjamin Franklin was bagging groceries at Kroger.
Yeah, right.
Or sweeping up popcorn at the movie theater. Like, those are the things that aren't there.
Yeah.
We hear about the epic things, and I just have this belief after being around enough people that everybody has something that's magical and amazing. Everybody's been a hero one time, so you can do it again. It's just
I love that. Because I think about you being on the road. I think about all the things that get in the way of people achieving what you've achieved, and I think about you being on the road and the difficulties that come with that. And you were showering on a bus? Is that?
Oh, really, it's even better. You're showering in like the depths of an arena in like the visitors hockey team's locker room.
Yeah. So everywhere you went, you were on the road. You had a bag. You had a traveling bag. You have to be ready to perform. So there could be part of your thinking that, God, if I exhaust myself on a run, what if I can't? Did that ever go through your head? Like, what if I can't actually do what I'm supposed to be here to do?
I don't think it went through my head as much as it went through some of my bandmates.
Yeah, right.
And it was if you're like the cardinal sin, the worst thing you could ever do on stage, you could have a outbreak of Tourette's and yell profanities at the audience. And that's not as bad as yawning. And so that's the thing in the back of my mind. You know, when you feel it come on,
right.
You know, so that was the one thing that I thought, if anyone in the band ever gets any inkling that I'm, you know, tired and don't have something for the show, then that's where, you know, support is probably going to change. But instead, I would get off stage, go straight to bed afterwards. They're staying up, I'm going to bed. So I now go by the name Old Man Beaty.
Nice.
Everybody's just
I relate very much to that. But your shows, you're probably up till what, at least midnight, right? I mean,
I'm usually I can be in my bunk by midnight usually.
Yeah, I have a hard time even with that. Like, I go to bed these days around 9:15. Now, I mean, I barely make it to put my son to bed, and then I'm like falling asleep on the couch. So I relate very much to the yawn predicament.
Oh yeah. I love it though. It's fun. It's exhausting, but the good part about it is when you're on the road, the bus is getting to the next venue, and a lot of times it's, you know, a 6 to 8 hour drive, and so I can set my alarm for 8 hours after I go to bed, and more than likely we're just getting there.
Yep.
There's nothing. It's not like I can get up and go on a grand adventure before we get there anyway. So you're able to sleep. It's just I'm not enjoying some of the finer things that happen in the twilight of the night.
Were you ever not prepared for one of the triathlons or Ironman that you did? Like, were you able to get the swimming in that you needed to get in, or the cycling, because the amount of time that it takes to train for that?
You know, I feel like I was, and I think I got lucky just because, once again, I'm a redneck from Mississippi, and you got to get across the creek every once in a while. You got to, you can't get eaten by the water moccasins, and so I could at least had the foundations of swimming, and I wasn't scared by that, and I think that's the biggest thing, was I didn't have to overcome that, so I could get the fitness from swimming reasonably fast. Right. And in tandem with the running and the cycling, that kind of came. And I did it progressively, because I couldn't just kind of be on the road and just go, okay, I'm on the road, now I'm doing straight to an Ironman. I mean, I was there. The whole transformation was a year long or so. Yep. And it, because I think the blessing was because I was on the road, and because that forced me to maybe slow down and have to look at the goal as a longer term, year-long process. And maybe that was a blessing that I've never even thought of till right now. It just kind of paced me correctly.
Yeah, right.
And so from an injury standpoint, I was okay from all those things. And you think there are days that you need to swim, and your only option is, a YMCA 45 minutes away, and you don't have, this is, 5-6 years ago, no Uber. So you just think, well, I'm not going to pay $100 to ride a cab to go swim for, 1,500 yards. And you go, okay, well, I guess I'm supposed to do something else. And you're adaptive and you modify. And for me, I think what the average triathlete does is they're just locked to some static training plan. It's like this 24-week plan that I got says that in approximately 12 weeks from now, on a Tuesday, I'm supposed to swim 2,400 yards, and I'll be damned if I'm not going to do that. But what happens is they burn out or get hurt before they even ever get there. And so this forced me to have a dynamic approach to it. I was able to learn to listen to my body, probably just due to the fact that I didn't have the option. Yep. Couldn't get anywhere else. Couldn't do anything else. Or you're at a place where you can't go run. So you just ride your bike in a compound on a trainer with breathing diesel fuel because all the buses everywhere. I don't know. That's a great question because I've never thought about that. But I think I had the nerves that go with it. But from a preparation standpoint, I just think that not finishing was never an option.
Yeah, right.
And so it.
What is your favorite part of training?
That all changes. It depends on the weather. It depends on where I am. It depends on my least favorite right now is swimming. Just because I haven't done much of it lately and it feels terrible. And so right now my favorite part of it is running. because being on the road, I decided this summer, I'm just going to Google trail running in Oklahoma City. And that's what I do. I'll just Google something that says this trail is super cool, and it's you can hop in an Uber and go over, and you can kind of you can use that as an opportunity to think, to be by yourself. The one thing that I did during training that everyone seems to be blown away by is I did my entire year of Ironman training with no music. I didn't
that was my next question, actually. That's so funny you said that. Yeah. As I've grown in my spiritual development, and built my own confidence inside, one of the practices that I hold dear and true to my heart is journaling. And it hasn't always been that way. And I haven't always known what to write. Well, one of the sponsors of the Whole Life Challenge is the Happier Mind Journal. And it has got an incredibly great system around journaling that helps with prompting you, that helps with guiding you in drawing upon all 5 of your senses when you're writing each day. It helps you gain clarity around what you want. It helps you find your voice, and your voice is your guidance system, your internal guidance system. It also, one of the things I really love about it is it's built into the system is a review of what you've been writing. So I think it's about 10 days, you go in and you actually look back and you're like, am I writing anything valuable here? Do I want to mine the nuggets, the gold out of my own journal? And it guides you through that process too. So they are a sponsor of the Whole Life Challenge. If you go to happiermindjournal.com and you use the code WLC20 at checkout, you'll get a 20% discount on your first order. So check it out. It is a really valuable purchase. You'll be very happy you at least tried it out. And if you're so inspired, you'll keep ordering because it's really, really good stuff. So there you have it.
I didn't listen to anything.
No music. Wow.
And I think it was weird for whatever reason. I don't want to call it masochistic in any way, but part of it was I'd be going to the studio later that day, and I'm going to be listening to music all day long.
Yeah, right.
And it was an opportunity to not have noise. And then what I quickly realized is being in that environment was a place that I wasn't comfortable, and it forced you to pick your scabs in some way. We all have all of this stuff that we pack down and we don't let it bleed out and get it cleaned up. And so when you're on a 100-mile bike ride and you look at the watch and think, okay, cool, I've been going for 7 minutes. In my mind, I've been gone for 3 hours, but it's 7 minutes.
Are we almost there yet, Dad?
Yeah. and so knowing that, you just have to, you wrestle. And you wrestle with your thoughts, and you go down these rabbit holes. And there are times where I'd be on the bike and I'd just start bawling. And it's now I was in the zone then. Now I'm scared of that again. And I know that there are things like just this week, my business partner relocated to Detroit. And so we've been running all of our day-to-day operations from Nashville in a certain flow for a number of years. And now the way that just normal everyday flow is totally different. Starting
so this
today.
Is flow for your business regarding training, or this is everything?
Yeah, just the things that we do with the Human Renovation Project, Music Moves, and all of the clients that we work with. So I just have a normal flow and a structure, and I didn't realize how you have routines. And now even this morning, so today, she moved yesterday. And so today I scheduled this podcast for today because I knew I would need some form of distraction so that I didn't just kind of walk around wondering what I'm supposed to do. And so even like this morning, we do our cycling class early in the morning. And I led that, and it's like normally I'll go get coffee, and I'm thinking, well, this is weird because this is what we normally do, and I'm not used to this. And so I'm having to kind of face fears. And so I think I'm being forced every day. We say, do something that scares you. You tell people to do that. And it's funny how the universe simply looks at you and goes, hey, now you have to do it. Because it's easy to stand up in front of people and go, rah, 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 I'm Mr. Motivator guy. I'm a cheerleader guy. You're going to do this. It's going to be all great. Just say yes to something that scares you every day or wake up and be motivated. I'm a broken record probably a lot of times. But the awesome thing about this is now you get thrust into situations where you go, well, shit, I have to be great. Now I got to do it. So
yeah.
I'm trying to then say the things that scare me are your daily patterns change a little bit and you're used to certain things. And now that has to change and evolve and get comfortable with, doing things differently and change and balancing things up and a shake up. And so I'd say in the past week, I've been able to be empathetic with people in ways that I haven't in a while. Mm-hmm. Not that I wasn't trying to, I just didn't get it. And so, you grow and I'm trying to have an awareness for that so that I can be a better friend and supporter, a better husband, a better partner, and better coach. So
I think it's very easy to fall into the trap of especially perhaps the way you have changed your life and the things that was so scary when you first started, the things that put you out of your comfort zone when you first started, they could easily continue to be stories in your life about how you're courageous every day and taking these steps to make sure you stay in the kind of fitness you're in. But I think what you're describing is beautiful in that you're willing to step outside those zones that were comfortable that were scary. Now are a little bit more comfortable, and now you're having to find and face fears that are completely in different areas that have nothing to do with the experience that you had before that required great courage.
Yeah, and it's really interesting, and I like I said, this summer has been an exercise in slowing down and seeing story. And like I said, using the camera to do that and not knowing anything about it. The other thing that I decided to do was in the venues, you just imagine a giant arena, there's security people that they plant all along the way. And it's just someone whose job is to guard this hall or to guard that hall or to do this and that. And I've made it a vow to anybody that I have to pass several times during the day, I'm going to learn their name. And every time I pass, I'm going to say their name. And not wanting to get emotional about it, but I have seen the power. My life has been changed by just walking by, learning someone's name and saying, hey, John. And then there's someone that sits there for 11 hours, 12 hours a day, and no one ever says anything to them. And you build a relationship with somebody in the day and you pause and you just take a second and you see how powerful that is. And stepping out of that side or just pausing to take a second to, whether it's scary or uncomfortable or not convenient to do that. And it's taken from that. I'm reminded after all the Ironman stuff that we did originally, I was asked to work on a TV show called Extreme Makeover. Yeah, right. And this was a pivotal moment for me life-wise. I've accomplished a ton of stuff. I've done a ton of athletic stuff at this point and had gotten certified to coach and had helped a ton of other people do stuff. And the show reached out and said, hey, we have someone that their goal is an Ironman event. Can you work with them? And I said, sure. And they said, well, you got 7 months. She weighs 340 pounds. She's an African-American Mormon lesbian and comes from this crazy past. So it's,
that's a hell of a combination. Good grief. Yeah. Really?
Yes. So she got to check a ton of boxes. And so I said, we're in. Let's go for it. And so from that point forward, she became my coach. And I've realized that all the people that I've worked with, I thought I was coaching them, but they're my coach. And so we go to this race. She couldn't swim at all. She couldn't ride a bike or hasn't ridden a bike since she's 13. And clearly it's hard to run when you weigh that much. Yep. We go through the journey. Race day, she weighs 199. And I learned very quickly that I'd never been through one of these events. You say, are you scared or you don't feel prepared or did you struggle in any of the races? And it's like, yeah, I've been average. I'm going to start, I'm going to finish it. Mm-hmm. And you think that's how it is. But to go through a journey with someone who has the real possibility that they're not going to finish was life-changing for me. And to see someone really dig as deep as they possibly can. So she made it through the swim. We had 1 minute before the cutoff. We get to the bike, and there's incremental cutoffs. One of them was a time cutoff at 11:30, and it was the turnaround point. Mm-hmm. And so we get to this orange cone that's the turn to come back. I look down at my watch. It's 11:30 on the dot. We make it in with only minutes to spare on the bike cutoff. We're the last people to leave the bike to go out on the run, so we're the last people in the event.
And are you doing it with her?
Yeah, I'm doing it with her.
Okay.
And shortly thereafter, some guy shows up on a bike with a sign that says Marshall. And this is the guy, he's there saying as soon as you don't make a cutoff, they pull you.
Yep.
And it moves into my job is now just to make sure that the pace we're going gets us to the next cutoff.
Yeah, right.
And it's just make the next cutoff. That's the only thing that matters. Yeah. And I started thinking, wait, it's not about the finish line a lot of times in life. It's just the next cutoff. All you got to do is do the things that do that. The next cutoff's in a mile. We need 12 seconds a mile faster than what we got going on now. We can do that. And so you break it down into those, like I said, this human renovation piece. Let's move the couch to the middle of the room.
Yeah.
And the aid stations are shut down. When we get there, there's a lady standing there with 2 cups of water. Here's one for you, one for her, and you keep going. We go to we make it. We come to the finish chute, the big red carpet, the grandstands. Everyone is gone. They've left for the day.
Yep.
And so
how many hours in is this? Like 17, 18 hours?
She did a half, and it was 8 hours and 46 minutes was our time.
Got it.
And we crossed the finish line, and it's just us. No one's there. No one's there to celebrate the fact that she did something truly unbelievable. She pushed herself beyond the emotional and mental barriers that were insurmountable, on paper. And she did it. And so what I've gotten to watch, and the way that she's coached me since then, is what happens when you go through something like that and you cross the finish line is from that point in time forward, she moves with the confidence of knowing that she accomplished something that on paper didn't seem possible.
Yep.
And so something comes up and she can always weigh it next to that. The trajectory of her life was changed in the way that she processes and thinks about things. And I pay attention to that now almost on a daily basis. And it led to just chatting with various people. And another person I was chatting with was oddly enough a Hebrew scholar, and he said, "You know what? This is interesting because when Adam is mentioned for the first time in the Bible, his name translates not as the first dude or the guy that's going to hook up with Eve or apple eating guy. His name translates as the remembering one." So the first dude shows up, and his whole job is to remember. And I know that seems weird because we have this Indiana Jones thing going on. It's like, yep, I'm going to get this cool chalice, but I got to go across this crevasse, and there's this magic invisible bridge. And as soon as I get to the other side, I can throw some dirt on it and realize that my blind faith got me there. But the thought is, no, that's not really what belief or faith is. It's the ability to simply go, I did this thing before, and that's kind of like this, and I pulled that off. So that means I can pull this off too. And if you go through life just thinking back, going, okay, what is similar to this that I've accomplished? Well, this was close, and I did this way. Yeah, I can tweak it this way, and that will propel me forward and help me do this. And it really just becomes the mental piece to help you figure it out. It's a primary thing in the Sudoku puzzle of life. It's like, now I know where the 9 and 3 go always. And that's not blind. That's
right.
That's hard and fast evidence. And so I watch as she now thinks back, remembers what she did, and now everything is different. Everything has changed. And it's just a massive, massive thing that I've been blessed to learn from.
Has she been able to keep the weight off and continue her journey toward?
She's kept a good bit of the weight off. She started something called Dance Your Pounds Away. She works with African-American women who are, body shaming is huge. And so she didn't have all the skin removal surgery. So she still got a ton of excess skin from that. Mm-hmm. And she just finally one day said, this is who I am. She looks great. She's, got nowhere near what she was before, but all the skin is there. And she's finally said, everybody else that goes to dance class gets to wear their sports bra. Why can't I? Boom. And she one day just said, I'm going for it. And now she's working in that world to help people transform how they view their body, yeah. And to be healthy moving forward and to do things that they can do.
In that kind of weight loss scenario, does the skin eventually go back into shape, or will it just not?
I think when it's that extreme, hers has not. And right. Many people that we've worked with that have been that extreme always have some level of excess skin. I think when you're talking 200 pounds yep. or so, then that's a tough one just to naturally get back.
Yep. Huh.
Yeah. We made it through question number 1.
You know what's funny is I've been looking down on my sheet of paper that's sitting here on my desk, right? So I'm glancing down at it and I'm like, okay. And I'm checking them off because we're already answering them. Good. What are some of the most important lessons you've learned, perhaps the hard way, that have led to your success? And who is the people that have had the most profound impact in your journey in life, and why? If you had a magical megaphone that could reach everyone in the world and infuse them with your wisdom, what are the most important things you'd tell them? I mean, we're covering it, without even me asking them. So it's great.
I mean, I think, yeah. So the thing that I'm telling if I have the megaphone, it's everybody's been a hero. Like I said, You've done it. It's a repeatable pattern. And the deal is, the Avengers deal is like a gazillion $billion movie. And the cool thing about the Avengers is it's not like Superman or Batman. It's like everybody knows this guy. This guy can change the world. And this guy has a magic belt full of crap that, he's Batman. Like the marquee A-list superheroes.
Yeah, right.
The Avengers,
the ones I grew up with. I mean, I grew up with all those guys. I mean, that was a big, huge part of my childhood.
So the Avengers is a collection of dudes who have like tiny powers.
Right.
But they come together and say, I'm going to use my tiny power with your tiny power, and we're going to get shit done. And so I don't think the Green Lantern is an Avenger, but you think about it. All right, he's a superhero who has a ring that shoots out a flashlight. And now he can help save the world. So
right.
These guys can't do anything until the dude with the flashlight ring shows up. Or,
right.
Cool, I can turn into an ant.
Right.
And somehow they come together and do these things, and it's like, man, everybody has these superpowers and these things that you can do that are crazy. And then, I think one of the other questions was who has influenced you or made an impact, and it's all people that have asked me to coach them, who in reality, when you look back, have coached me. And one of the most pivotal ones is this kid that we've worked with for a number of years. His name's Johnny Agar. He was born with cerebral palsy. His dad was a pro baseball player. The mom says, this is he's born. The mom doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know if the father and son are ever going to bond. And for whatever reason, as this kid grows up, he's just fascinated by sports and just says, I can still be an athlete. And they instill the thought that he can be. Supposed to never be able to walk. And eventually the mom says, well, Dad, why don't you just take him on a 5K run and push him and see how it goes? And of course, the dad pushes him. They start doing other events together. Johnny grows up doing some of these things, and it's their way of bonding. But then Johnny says, I think it's about time for me to learn to walk, because you're getting tired of running me around. I need to do my part too. So this kid that's never supposed to walk gets into a great therapy. He eventually says, we're going to do an Ironman event. I'm going to walk the last mile. It takes him 2 hours to walk a mile at this point in time. Today, he can walk a mile in 30 minminutes. He and his dad have completed some of these crazy long endurance events. They just, all of these ridiculous things. And so we've gotten to see Johnny at the end of his dad going all day long, get out of the chariot and walk the last piece of it. And so in working with them, we did a ton of press, and people wanted to know Johnny's story, but they asked a lot of the same questions. And so, being the impatient person that I am, I said, I'm gonna start asking the questions, and y'all will get some good stuff because it'll be different stuff because it's just stuff I want to know, and I know that it's safe to ask.
Yep.
And one day, Johnny and I were having a conversation. It was I want to know what really scares you. None of this mumbo jumbo, but what are you afraid of? And this kid says, you know what? I think most people are afraid of failure, and they don't start because they're afraid, or they're paralyzed by that in some way or another. But my life is a collection of catastrophic failures on a daily basis. If I need to go to the bathroom, 50% of the time, I'm going to pee or poop my pants. If I need to just get out of my chair to get in my bed, if I do it on my own, I'm probably going to end up on the floor. So I have to wait for someone to dress me. I have to wait for someone to move me around. If I eat, I'm going to spill it all over myself. If I drink, I'm going to be wet from it. Wow. And he said, so I'm extremely comfortable with failure. And as a result, that's allowed me to accomplish things that I'm not supposed to accomplish. And he went on to say, for me, the thing that scares me is to go to bed at night and be haunted by the fact that I didn't try something. To have regret that I didn't go for it or try is the biggest fear that I have, because I never want to wake up the next day and think that I didn't try, because then it only takes a few days of that and you start to build a pattern. You start to build a pattern of not trying. And then over the course of time, that rewrites your potential, and you let one day of not trying then change what you have the potential to accomplish. And you think, geez, and so the kind of in some ways the question that I ask myself now is, what do I regret that I didn't go for today? Or will I regret that I'm not going for this now? And it's not big things. It's not like, I didn't put all my money in Vegas on Black 21 or whatever. Yep. It's just some little bitty tiny thing, having a conversation with you and sharing something vulnerable.
Yeah, it's funny because as you were relating that story, I thought to a time when I was at my cousin's wedding, and I thought that it would be nice if I stood up and said something, because she didn't have, her brother wasn't going to do it, and she didn't have a man to do it, and I didn't do it. And I still to this day think back to that time that I didn't step up. And there have been probably 2 or 3 times that there's been that opportunity to stand up and kind of, declare it and say something, and that I've shirked from that. And they still affect me, and they still haunt me. And I can totally relate to that. Breaking Ordinary podcast grows, thrives, continues to change people's lives, to influences people through conversation. It does that by building its audience. And the way we build our audience, we don't advertise, I barely promote. You know what? I share it on Instagram. Sometimes I'm not even consistent sharing it on Instagram. I rely on you guys. I rely on listeners who hear something really compelling and decide, I'm going to send that to my best friend. I'm going to send that to my wife. I'm going to send that to my coworker. I'm going to send that episode, just one episode. Let them then do whatever they want with it. If they want to subscribe, great. That's the way this thing grows. And I really, in advance of you doing anything, want to just express my gratitude for you being willing to consider doing that. The other way it grows is for it to build a reputation inside iTunes, and that happens through your reviews. So whether it's a 5-star, 4-star, hopefully it's one of those 2 reviews, but also writing something about it. It makes a huge difference in iTunes. So if you could consider doing either one of those things, sharing it on Instagram, sharing it on Facebook, sharing the episode, or your insights that you got out of the episode, I would really appreciate it. So thanks in advance, and let's get back to the show.
Yeah, I think it's funny. I'm a yapper, so more than yours is that you feel like you should have set up to say something, and mine's probably I should have sat down and not said something.
It's right. Or not said so much for so long.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. So what's next for you? What are you, what's your why now?
Yeah, I think right now, the thing that really is the driver, the why, is I can't lose this thing inside of me that feels as though we have the ability in community to change the world. And in a world that is so obsessed with being right or wrong, being black or white, and most of the answers are somewhere in the gray. It's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I think the why that I have now is this honest belief that everyone's individual story is so powerful that if they embrace that we can start an epidemic of change. And it just comes by one person realizing that they're ignited, and they bump into the person next to them. And I think I just walk around and I see everyone as a 5-gallon jug of gasoline. And all they're doing is waiting for someone to trip and drop a match on them. And then they can explode. And then when that happens, we know you're in California, so it's wildfires. Those things spread like crazy. And so I just have this vision in my mind that I'm haunted by of we have to bump into the person next to us and start an epidemic of kindness. We have to bump into the person next to us and help them realize that they can do so much more than they thought of. And all I can do is do that to the people that I come in contact with. And it's not about doing anything crazy or anything. It's as simple as the people that you encounter, just trying to get them to realize their potential. Mm-hmm. And so my why is this belief that there's a ton of epic stories that need to be told, and I want to get to the bottom of it, so that I just, that's my belief on how we're going to make change. And it's it just seems like the way that I can control. I can't write a letter to Congress and feel like it's going to do very much. It doesn't mean that you don't do your part in that, and you don't have a voice there, but it just means that I want to be active and I want to get involved and do the things. And so we have a community here in Franklin, Tennessee that we watch as it grows. And there's nothing more joyous than seeing someone become empowered and become inspired, mm-hmm. and then to watch them ignite someone else, and then just to see the chain reaction. So I guess we're starting our own multi-level marketing plan with making people realize that they're superheroes with
no exchange of money, just exchange of kindness.
No exchange of money.
Right.
It's just the Avengers are going to take over.
Pay it forward.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just get motivated by that, and
I love. There's one thing that you said that I want to key in on, because I think in today's political climate with President Trump and whatnot, which I don't want to talk about, but people get so embroiled and hooked on things that they really have no power to do anything about. And I mean, they do. They can go to the polls and they can elect whoever they want to elect and do whatever they want to do. But on a day-to-day basis, and it gets in the way of their, like you've described so well, these little bite-sized chunks that they can do to be kinder, to be more loving, to be more helpful, to be more respectful, and to be disciplined about the way they're going to approach their life so that they take the next step. And I think it's a very quick thing to get hooked into, whether it's social media or politics or whatever's your thing. And man, when you start to add up the hours that you're spending watching the Wolf Blitzer or whatever news program you watch or whatever social media channel you watch, it just robs you of your aliveness, of your life.
And we see the power of that ignition, that bumping into someone else, and what you can do to spark them. Unfortunately, the example we have is primarily negative. Yeah. And if someone makes a statement in a social media platform that's outside of your black or white, or it's their version of one, then the firestorm happens, and it's all vitriolic and it just angry and enraged, and you see how strong passion can be and the impact that passion can have. why can't we then take that same energy and do things that are going to matter? Because I guarantee you, the people that are taking that approach, their lives are going to be more enriched and better by using that same energy to be nice to the guy at Starbucks.
Yeah.
Because the next day when they come in, that guy's going to remember their name, and they're going to be hit with a flood of dopamine, and their entire day is going to change.
Yep.
And it's powerful. And so if I don't know, I'm just trying to remind myself of that, and it's listen to everybody, listen to these things, and yeah, everybody has an opinion, and everybody's entitled to that, which is what's the beautiful piece of it. But why can't we have those opinions and go, oh, great idea? I'm reading the Benjamin Franklin biography right now, which is I've decided on this tour, if I can read 10 pages a night, then I can finish it in my lifetime.
How many thousand pages is it? Is it 1,000 pages?
It's brilliant, and it's Walter Isaacson, and everyone on earth should read it, because this dude is at 27 amazing. Years old. He's I mean, when he was going back and forth, the first time he's going to buy a printing press, it takes him 11 weeks one way on a boat.
Wow.
Just to get over there. Right. And then 11 weeks to get back. And he's done all this. He's spent half his life going on a boat back and forth. So I guess if you're stuck on a small boat for 22 weeks a year, you can think some things through.
Yeah.
But his whole thing was he was known as a listener in a lot of ways. And his whole thing was keep asking questions. And twofold. One, you find better solutions, but two, people that are so passionate about something one way or another end up hearing themselves and talking themselves through it. And if you're compassionate on the other side and just keep asking, then eventually they start to hear, and you ask questions that affect you or impact you, and slowly they start to go, huh. And so it's I always hate talking about this because I've just spent an hour talking to you and not listening. But the rest of the time, I'm at least attempting to listen. And,
well, on that note, Thad, thank you so much. How do people find you if they want to ask you a question? Are you on Twitter? Are you on Instagram? Or
the easiest thing is I try to be as accessible as I can. It's Music That Moves on Instagram. Cool. And I refused to get on Facebook for a long time. And an organization that I was working with said, you've got to be on there. We'll just give you a code name so that it at least would be kind of more difficult to find. So I'm Captain Thad on Facebook.
Cool. Cool.
Captain Thad on Facebook, Music That Moves on Instagram.
And your website? Do you have a website?
Nope. No websites, none of that stuff. We're like old school around here.
Love it.
Everyone tells me that I need to, but it's just something else that I will have in my life that will be outdated.
Totally.
Just like my stage wear from 2 years ago. I think that's the thing about musicians is you realize junk that I've worn. I'm not good at making short-term decisions about things that are supposed to be fashionable or trendy or look cool. So I've almost just decided not to anymore.
If you wear it long enough, it gets back in style. Right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's what I keep telling my wife.
Maybe 40 years from now, it'll come back in style.
It doesn't take that long. It doesn't. I've had some things that I've kept that my wife has been trying to get me to get rid of. And, 15 years, I'm like, oh, hey, look, honey, it's right back.
Yeah.
She's like, oh,
see?
God, don't get me started.
3-inch running shorts never go out of style, though.
Yeah, right. How about that? When we first started, the bathing suits back when I was growing up, they were all above the knee. They were, there was no such thing as you wearing shorts below the knee, and now all the suits you go to buy, even shorts, are all cut above the knee, which I don't really like anymore. I like the below the knee. So maybe I'm just behind the times.
Well, I just buy mine at Costco now. Everybody thinks all those music folks are have the $400 T-shirts. Like, nope.
Costco.
Go to Costco.
That's right.
Find a cool looking pair of $13 pants on Amazon. Good to go. Hold on, I'm going to stop the live stream. Hang on one second. Yeah.
All right. Dude, thank you so much. Holy cow.
Oh, heck yeah,
I am
man.
so inspired by what you do and the words you say and the way you articulate kind of what you're up to in the world. It's really, really inspiring.
Well, I just want to say I'm super grateful. Thanks for taking a second to sit down and ask questions. And I'm sorry that I talk so much. And
no apology necessary at all.
I hope that you got what you needed and it's useful and
absolutely.
That, people are stirred in some way.
Hey, it's Andy, and thanks so much for listening. If you want to know more about what I'm learning each month, head over to andypetronic.com and subscribe to my monthly newsletter. If you were touched, moved, or inspired by anything you heard today, chances are someone else you know would be too. Please take a moment to think about who and send them a link to this episode. And if you're super stoked, please head over to iTunes to write a review. The best way to keep current on guests and episodes is to subscribe so that the latest one will automatically get delivered straight to your phone. The apps I used for this are Apple Podcasts, Overcast, or Pocket Casts. The Andy Petronic podcast is produced by our team, Winslow Jenkins, Becca Borowski, and Ernie Hurtado. Big thanks to Nikki Grudidaria for the artwork. You can find all of our episodes, links, and complete show notes at wholelifechallenge.com/podcast. I'm Andy Petronic. Thanks for listening.